Welcome back, everyone. So, I'm a bit nervous here because in this video, I plan to go over some hot takes that I have regarding the Wheel of Time. And, okay, I'm using the term hot takes. I don't know if you're allowed to call your own takes hot takes. Like, is that a thing? Or do other people have to give them that label? I don't know. Whatever. I'm talking about some thoughts that I have about the Wheel of Time that might be controversial. And yeah, these types of videos always make me a bit nervous because the comment section gets a bit hairy. But the whole reason I made this YouTube channel was to finally be able to talk about the Wheel of Time with people and say all of the things that I thought for years, sometimes decades now, but have had no one to say them to. So I guess let's just jump into it. Oh, but no, before we get into it, spoiler warning, big time. This video is going to have spoilers all the way through to the very end of the series. So if you have not finished the entire series, don't watch. Or, do if you want, I guess, but then don't blame me for spoiling the books for you. This video is full spoilers. Beware. Okay, so the first thing on my list, I'm not going to go into all that much detail in it because I made a whole video about it. I'll link it below if you want to see my thoughts on this. But I got to include it on this because it is absolutely a controversial opinion that I have. And that is that the Aiel, they kind of suck. Now, just to make this as clear as possible, because the comments on that video made it pretty obvious that a lot of people didn't understand this. I do not mean that they are badly written or uninteresting or poorly fleshed out. It does not mean that I don't understand the reasons, both historical, like, the in-book canon history reasons, or the thematic reasons, or the plot reasons, for the things about their culture that I am not a fan of. I get all of that. I know that they need to be who they are in order to be useful during the apocalypse. And I know that they became who they are because of their history. That's true of every culture, so that's not really a groundbreaking thought. What I mean is that I do not hold them up on a pedestal or think of them as more moral or superior to any other culture in the Wheel of Time world. And it seems that a lot of the fandom does. In fact, a lot of the fandom is happy at the end that they are sort of the world police because they are just, a step above the rest of them. And I do not think that at all. Not even a little bit. What I also mean is that if I was given a chance to live in the Wheel of Time world and you gave me a choice of where to live, of what culture I would want to be a part of, the Aiel would be damn near the bottom. I'm talking they're down there with the Shanchan and Shara. I do not think that a culture that is based on violence is a great culture. I do not think that a culture that sells people into slavery is all that great. I do not think a culture that started a war that killed thousands of people because one guy cut down a tree is all that great, especially given the fact that in The Dragon Reborn, we see that they could have easily stealthed their way into Cairhien and assassinated King Laman without any of the unnecessary slaughter. But they decided instead to invent the Wheel of Time version of racism and hold the entire nation of Cairhien responsible for the actions of one man. There are more reasons. Okay, you just watch that video if you like. They're not that great as a culture. They are fascinating, and I love reading about them, and I love the Aiel characters, and learning about their culture is fun and interesting, but I do not hold them up as any sort of ideal version of anything. They are at least as flawed as every other Wheel of Time culture, and in my opinion, more than many of the other cultures that we see, and the Aiel, they're not that great. My next possible hot take, although, to be honest, I've heard more and more people saying this recently, although that might just be the circles that I'm, traveling in, I guess, is that the Red Ajah get a bad rap. And I'm not talking about really the Red Ajah characters. A lot of the Red Ajah that we meet, the individuals, they are pretty terrible. But I'm talking about the Ajah in general. They're just characterized as the villains who do it for the love of the hatred of men. That sentence went in circles. I hope it made sense outside of my head, but whatever. Okay, I don't know if that was what RJ meant for us to, to take away from this, or if that was just part of the narrative style that he chose for these books. The limited perspective that allows us to learn about characters by seeing how they perceive the world. A character's opinion about something or someone, it tells us more about the character than it does about what it is that they are thinking about. And because we don't actually spend a lot of time in the heads of any of the Red Aja individuals, there's a few, but it's very small. We are mostly seeing them from the outside. And the thoughts of people that are not in the Red Aja, that the thoughts that they have about the Red Aja, they're pretty uncharitable. But okay, if we start with the most obvious point, the Red Aja is an absolute necessity in this world. The fact that the other Ajas don't work with them and just sort of leave them to do one of the only jobs that actually must be done by an Aes Sedai, or a female channeler at the least, the other Ajas just kind of leave them to do it on their own, that's kind of sucky. I get particularly upset when I think about this with the Yellows for not continually working to try and find cures for this, not just for male channeling, but for the depression that the men suffered upon being gentled. And I get even more upset with the Browns, just because that's, my chosen Aja, for not continually, for like 3,000 years, researching and trying to find a solution, or at least better solutions, to this problem that has plagued the world for 3,000 years. Okay, here's the other thing that, the other part of this that I think gets overlooked. The Red Aja, at least in their policies, are pretty damn merciful, Like, when things aren't being corrupted by the Black Aja, like they were after the Aiel War, the way they deal with male channelers is, sorry, to use a pretty loaded word, the way they deal with male channelers is gentle. Consider Logain. Logain had an army. He raised an army and took that army to try and conquer the city of Tyr. I think it would be naive to think that action that he took did not result in a high number of deaths. Plus, trying to conquer an independent nation, that's like, it's terrorism? Or, I don't know, it's a crime. It has to be a crime. Logain is a criminal. Like, even aside from his being a male channeler, his actions are criminal. His actions undoubtedly killed people. Lots of people. But when they gentle him, then they, as part of their policy, they treat him gently. Considering his crimes, and I'm completely excluding his channeling here, and considering the punishments that we see for much lesser crimes, they are remarkably merciful with him. Logain is a criminal, and he goes completely unpunished for the crimes that he committed. Now, I know, right away, somebody right now has started typing to say that gentling in and of itself is a punishment. But okay, it's not. The gentling is a necessary evil that would have been done to him whether or not he had committed any crimes. It is an awful thing that may feel like a punishment, but it's not. It is a thing that has to happen, and it is not a consequence of his actions. It's a consequence of something that happened 3,000 years ago, and it's, as of the time it happens in the book, it's beyond anyone's control. But I think, this is just my headcanon, but my headcanon reason for the mercy that they show people like Logain is that, in theory, the Red Aja, and I guess all the Aes Sedai, just in general, they understand how awful it is to be gentled, and so they think it's enough. It is merciful. And the fact that the other Ajas and the world just only sees the harshness in the very necessary action that they have to take and just shits all over them for it, I find it's really, really unfair. Okay, to come down from that pretty serious one, I'll tackle a less serious, but also apparently still a controversial take. I hear a lot of people making the joke of, why would anyone be a dark friend? Because in the books, being a dark friend is a pretty shitty deal. The Forsaken can just show up and make you do whatever you want. Myrddraal start torturing your family one by one. You get dragged to Shale Ghul and distilled, which, what the hell does that mean? I have no idea, but it is one of the creepiest descriptions of anything I have ever read. Like, God, Robert Jordan has such a way with words. But basically, okay, in the books, being a dark friend sucks. Why would you do it? Here's my hot take. It only sucks because it's the apocalypse. I bet being a dark friend was a pretty sweet deal, as long as you didn't get caught, anyway, for most of history. People who wanted power or money or whatever and didn't care what they had to do to get it probably were pretty successful because there were likely very few obligations that they had to fulfill. Perhaps during those flashes, those bits where Ishamael was kind of free, those times maybe there were some obligations to fulfill, but outside of those brief flashes that happened like once every 1,000 years, I doubt there were many strings attached. We see that actually with the Dark Friend family that the Black Aja stay with. They were wealthy merchants, Probably because they did some shady dark friend shit, to get wealthy, probably long before the Black Ajah showed up. They seemed to think that they were done with being dark friends. And I bet before the apocalypse was imminent, that was how it worked. You took an oath, did some shady shit once or twice to get what you wanted, and then just lived the rest of your life. But now the world is ending. So yeah, now it suddenly sucks to be a dark friend. So now on to something a little bit more serious. Egwene. There is a lot of talk in the fandom about how Egwene and possibly Nynaeve, vouch for my girl Nynaeve, should have been considered ta'veren. And I kind of agree with it. Now, I do love the sort of, women power argument for them not being ta'veren. The whole, they were awesome on their own. They didn't need the plot armor of ta'veren to protect and help them. It's a cool argument, and I'll take it. But for me, it kind of breaks the world building. I don't know how to say it. It breaks the world that they're not ta'veren. Because the Wheel of Time is based on the idea of balance. Male and female powers pushing against each other literally turn the Wheel of Time. That balance should be apparent in what the wheel weaves, as it were, and yet the wheel only apparently spins out male ta'veren. Even historically, I know of only one female ta'veren, the Aes Sedai who formed the White Tower. If balance is really inherent in the wheel, then it should be evident in things like ta'veren, but it's not. But okay, that's actually not my hot take here. My hot take is that Egwene should have become a hero of the Horn. When the Horn was blown in the last battle, Egwene had died already, and she had died fighting in the last battle. She should have come back as a hero of the Horn. Her life, I think, more than warranted it. She was captured and escaped slavery. She fought in the Battle of Kyrie, and she was imprisoned in the tower and managed to fight off the Shan Shan while drugged on fork-root tea. She became Amerlin and died literally saving the world from being torn apart by balefire in the middle of the last battle. If that doesn't warrant hero status, then what does? I like that Jane Farstrider got to be a hero, and that moment, I admit, I teared up. But how was his life more heroic than hers? What on earth do you have to do to become a hero of the Horn? The only way I can, the ways I try and, logic it out is that there's some sort of time gap between it, when you die and when you become a hero of the Horn. But we know that time in Tel'aran'rhiod works differently, so that shouldn't be an issue. And Birgitte came back right away, so why couldn't Egwene have come back right away? Is there a training period? Did she have to go through initiation? Was there some sort of intake form that she had to fill out before it was allowed? Here's the thing. I actually know, narratively why. You can't have Birgitte and Egwene come back the same way. It cheapens one of them, I think. But the canon part of it, in my mind, it should happen. She deserves it. Her life warrants it. And I mean, she would be an amazing hero of the Horn. Whatever my complicated feelings about her are, she is a hero. She should be a hero of the Horn. The last item on my list, I kind of hate this one. I hate that I think this, because it's an opinion that puts me on the side of the White Cloaks. And that feels really, really shitty. But okay, here's my final and possibly hottest take. The White Cloaks are right about Perrin. Obviously, they are not right that he's a dark friend, but they are right to call him a murderer. By all the laws that we know of in the Wheel of Time, he is a murderer. When they first meet him in that steading in the Eye of the World, he, from their perspective, just suddenly launched at them and attacked and killed 2 of their men for no reason. Not only did he suddenly attack them, pretty much unprovoked, but he did it right after a wolf had killed one of them. A wolf had jumped out of the night, ripped out the throat of one of the White Cloaks. They, in a completely reasonable action, had killed the wolf that had attacked them, and then he attacked and killed 2 more of them. Now we, the readers, we know that the wolf was Hopper, and that Hopper was trying to help Perrin, and that Perrin attacked in a sort of fit of empathic revenge, I guess. But a wolf is an animal. And I don't think there's any way you can twist the law to say that killing humans in defense of or to avenge an animal is okay. We, again, as readers, we know that the wolves are intelligent, sentient beings, but no one else knows that. Only Perrin and Elias know that for sure. Everyone else has to take them on faith that they aren't making it up. The White Cloaks, obviously, took things way too far, as they are wont to do, but wanting to hold Perrin to account for killing 2 of their soldiers, that is not an unreasonable request. He did actually do that, and his defense for it is not reasonable. You don't get to kill humans, even if they kill an animal that you really, really like. That's just not a thing. They are, I think, within their rights to want to see him punished. And in the world of Wheel of Time, that punishment would be death. I know a lot of people find the trial of Perrin to not be very satisfying, the trial in one of the latter books there, but I honestly don't know of another way that this could have been done. He is a murderer, and I like Perrin. Not as much as I used to. He used to be my favorite of the boys, but Matt has overtaken him in recent years. But I still like Perrin. But no matter how I try to think of this, he attacked the White Cloaks unprovoked and killed 2 men. They were not attacking him when he did that. They were just protecting themselves against a wolf that had just killed a man in front of them. I can't think of another way to think of what he did. And I can't think of another way to solve the issue than how it was handled in the books. I don't want him to die, but he did murder 2 men in front of many witnesses, and it needed to be dealt with. So yeah, those are my hot takes. Do you have any opinions about my takes? I'm sure some of you will. Let me know in the comments below. And do you have any hot takes of your own? I would love to hear those. Please put those in the comments as well. Or, better yet, join my Discord. It is a great place to have, actual conversations. It's a really great and interactive platform, and I'm particularly fond of my Discord members, so I'd love to have you join. I'll link that in the description below. Also, if you like my content and you want to support me, you can check out my Patreon. That will also be linked in the description below. As always, I am immensely grateful to my patrons. You guys, you really mean a lot to me. You keep me motivated to keep going. Thank you so much. And with that, I will end things here. Like, subscribe, and stick around for the art credits. Bye!